I never imagined I'd become the queen of the underworld, until I faced a heartbreaking betrayal. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was as if the world had shattered into a million pieces around me. I stood there, breathless, heart slamming against my chest. My hands trembled as I clutched the crumpled note, the ink smeared by the tears streaming down my cheeks. Betrayal. The word echoed in my mind, twisting inside me like a knife that I was just an ordinary girl. Or so I thought. My life revolved around sunsets and laughter with friends, until that day. The pavement was rough beneath my feet, the chill of impending night creeping into my bones. I had plans, dreams that felt tangible. But everything changed with a single message. Trust no one, it read. How could I even begin to wrap my head around that? My family had always been my anchor. But they were unaware of the shadows lurking beneath our reality. My mom always tucked me into bed, whispering tales of ancient magic, love, and bravery. Little did she know the true magic was real, and I was entwined in something dark and dangerous. My friends, my heart, my everything hinged on finding out what was happening to us. The air was electric with tension. The night came alive with whispers. My best friend, Emma, had been acting strange, her laughter laced with secrets. We used to share everything, but now there was a wall, heavy and wet with unspoken fears. She would look at me, her eyes darting around as if someone sinister was lurking behind every shadow. It terrified me. What did she know that I didn't? Then, there was that chilling moment when all the pieces fell into place. I caught her with him. In the heavy, sweltering silence of midnight, I watched, my heart turning to ice. The way they leaned in, faces illuminated by the dim glow of the streetlights, was a stark contrast to the darkness gnawing at my insides. The betrayal tasted like ash on my tongue. A promise broken, a friendship tossed aside, everything felt surreal, like I was trapped in a nightmare. I stumbled back, gasping for breath. The world spun wildly around me. I could hear my heartbeat thudding in my ears, drowning out the laughter that once held joy. I felt lost, a ship adrift in a storm, but there was something deeper, lurking in the corners of my mind. A whisper, a call to action. Could I change my fate? Did I have the power to rise from this treachery? As the darkness pulsed around me, I realized I had a choice. But how much was I willing to sacrifice? As the ground trembled beneath my feet, I edged closer to a path I never imagined I'd walk. The underworld beckoned. Would I become its queen, or rot in despair? My heart raced. The truth stood on the edge of my tongue, but could I face it? In the tangled web of pain and betrayal, a fierce determination ignited within me. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The moon hung heavy in the sky, cloaked by wisps of cloud that flickered like ghosts. I leaned against the cold, crumbling wall of an abandoned building, the scent of dampness and decay swirling around me. The weight of betrayal still pressed down on my chest, each breath a reminder of the shattered bond with Emma. I could still see their silhouettes, taunting me in the corners of my imagination, filling my mind with dark, vengeful thoughts. Trust no one, the message lingered like a grim mantra. But who was I supposed to trust now? Everything I had built me friendships, my dreams lay in ruins at my feet. I closed my eyes, picturing happier times, when laughter filled the air and secrets were whimsical, not deadly. That innocent girl who believed in the beauty of connection seemed so far away now. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps broke through my reverie. I turned, heart racing. My pulse quickened as a figure emerged from the shadowy night. It was Chris, the quiet friend who always seemed to blend into the background, his presence barely noticed. But tonight, there was an urgency in his eyes. I had never seen him look so serious. "Hey," he said, his voice low and steady. "I saw you earlier. You looked well, not okay." He stepped closer, and I could smell the warmth of his breath, mingled with the chill in the air. I wanted to resent him for caring. Why did he have to bother? But something within me cracked a little. "I'm fine," I replied sharply, though my voice trembled. He studied me for a moment, searching for the truth behind my words. "Look, I know you're not," Chris pressed, his brow furrowing with concern. "Something's off, and I want to help. You don't have to go through this alone." His kindness cut through the suffocating darkness. I opened my mouth to respond, but words evaded me. Instead, I found myself slowly letting down my guard, a far cry from the fortress I had built around my heart. As I watched him, I felt a flicker of something, then the shattering pain. It was the tiniest ember of hope. What if I shared my burden? "Okay," I whispered, trembling at the thought. "I saw Emma with someone, it hurt." Chris remained silent as I recounted the moment, the betrayal spilling from my lips as tears threatened to spill from my eyes. He didn't interrupt, didn't dismiss my pain. Instead, he listened, his expression an unwavering testament to his understanding. In that moment, I felt like I wasn't completely alone in this world of sadness. "Emma was my best friend," I continued, my voice quaking. "She was supposed to be with me, not him. I don't understand why people play with each other's hearts." Chris' gaze softened, and he stepped closer, an unspoken promise hanging in the air. "People are complicated, trust me. But you deserve better than this. You deserve friends who uplift you, not tear you down." A lump formed in my throat, and I managed a weak smile. Perhaps, amidst the ashes, a new foundation was being laid, one built upon authentic friendship and kindred spirits. But was I ready to embrace that notion? To open myself up again might only lead to more pain. Just as the barrier around my heart began to weaken further, a bone-chilling cackle echoed through the night, freezing the air in my lungs. We turned toward the sound, and the shadows morphed into something sinister. Out of the darkness emerged a figure cloaked in black, face obscured by a hood. My skin prickled with unease. "Such drama for a little girl," the figure sneered, voice dripping with venom. "You think you have a choice here? The underworld isn't a place for the weak." Behind me, Chris took a protective step forward, shielding me with his presence. "What do you want?" he demanded, voice firm despite the palpable fear radiating between us. But the figure simply laughed again, a haunting melody that sent shivers down my spine. "You're not ready, but you will be. The throne expects its queen." And before I could process his words or what they meant, the figure melted back into the shadows, leaving behind an unsettling silence. My heart raced not only from fear but from the weight of a chilling revelation. The underworld was no longer just a haunting thought in my mind, it was a reality I could not escape. My choice loomed before me, dark and twisted like a long-forgotten path. Could I truly accept the mantle that awaited me? As I turned back to Chris, I could see the worry etched in his features. He was right, I couldn't go through this alone, but with the underworld calling my name, what lay ahead might tear apart everything I had left. "Don't worry," I said, determined but not fully believing my own words. "I'll figure it out," but even as I said it, I could feel the grip of the shadows tightening around me. And in that moment, as I stood between kindness and darkness, I understood that the fight had only just begun. The night enveloped us in an eerie silence, the remnants of the cloaked figure's warning lingering in my mind like an unwelcome echo. I turned to Chris, searching his face for answers I wasn't even sure I wanted. "The throne expects its queen," I repeated, tasting the words as though they were foreign. "What throne? What queen?" The phrase spun in my head, a dizzying blend of dread and curiosity. "Let's get out of here," Chris suggested, breaking the spell that had gripped me. We began to walk, but my mind remained trapped in a whirlwind of anxiety and uncertainty. Every step felt heavier, laden with the weight of my impending reality, a grim inevitability I could hardly fathom. The streets were dimly lit, the night air cold against my skin. For what felt like hours, we walked in silence, the moon peeking through clouds as if offering glimpses of hope amidst my despair. Just then, something caught my eye, a flickering light emanating from a small cafe that had felt like a sanctuary once. It was a place our group had frequented, where laughter echoed and secrets were traded like currency. "Why don't we stop for a moment?" Chris suggested, sensing my hesitance. "I could use some coffee." He grinned, trying to coax a smile from me. I appreciated his effort but couldn't shake the foreboding sense that something larger loomed over us, something dark and insistent. As we stepped inside, the familiar aroma of brewing coffee wrapped around me like a warm blanket, but the atmosphere felt off-kilter. The usually bustling cafe seemed subdued, a few scattered patrons eyeing us as if we were bears entering a tea party. I led Chris to a secluded corner, hoping the remnant of my past would bring me just a hint of comfort. But the shadows lingered, reminders of the betrayal, of Emma and her choice. "Why have you been so distant?" Chris asked suddenly, placing a comforting hand on mine. "I know there's more going on than just Emma," the truth bubbled within me, but fear wrapped its tendrils around my heart, squeezing tight. How could I divulge the darkness that resonated within me? How could I admit that I felt like a pawn in some twisted game? Yet, as Chris studied me, I felt compelled to unveil the depths of my turmoil. "I can't explain it," I began slowly, "but it feels like something is being awakened inside me, and it terrifies me." He leaned in, eyes locked onto mine. "Whatever it is, it'll help you." His intensity cut through my unease, igniting the flicker of hope within me once more. Just as I dared to believe, a loud crash from outside shattered the moment like fragile glass. We both jerked in surprise and turned to see a group of individuals in dark attire, faces illuminated by the blinding glow of the cafe's neon sign. They moved in unison, their eyes unyielding as they scanned the surroundings with predatory intent. My heart dropped. "Chris," I whispered, gripping his arm, "we need to go." He hurled a glance toward the door, eyes narrowing. "Not yet. I don't like this." Before I could argue, one of the figures spotted us and smiled a wicked grin that sent a shiver down my spine. "There you are, little queen," she taunted, stepping inside. The air turned heavy with an ominous energy, like the feeling before a violent storm. "Leave us alone!" I shouted, more forcefully than I anticipated, the underlying defiance within me surfacing. But my voice trembled, revealing the cracks in my facade. "Oh, but you're not ready to be left alone," she replied, her tone dripping with malice. "The underworld calls for you." There's no escaping your destiny, panic coursed through my veins, the sensation almost painfully familiar. Visions of betrayal, loss, and isolation flashed through my mind like an unending slideshow. I could feel Chris tense next to me, prepared to defend me from these harbingers of dread, but a different kind of fear took hold. What if they were right? What awaited me if I chose to embrace these dark whispers? Run! Chris ordered, snapping me from my reverie. We bolted toward the exit, but the dark figure followed, a haunting reminder that this chase was just beginning. Outside, the cool night air slammed against us, but I could feel neither warmth nor safety. I glanced back to see the figure waving her arms, chanting an incantation just beneath her breath. Shadows surged forward, blurring the line of reality around us. Don't look back, Chris commanded, pulling me along as we sprinted through the alleyways, heartbeats synced in panic. We can't let them catch us, but even as we ran, I felt the pull of the gloom behind me, an inescapable fate drawing closer with each frantic breath. What if, in the depths of my soul, I was meant to answer the call of the underworld, a destiny wrapped in shadows that sought to claim me? As we turned a corner, the world seemed to tilt, and I stumbled, catching myself against a wall. Chris was beside me in an instant. Are you okay? I was not. My heart raced, but a feeling of inevitable acceptance washed over me. I leaned against the wall, gasping for breath, wrestling with the truth that gnawed at me. The thought flickered in my mind, fierce and chaotic. What if I wasn't just running from them, but to a choice that had always been mine to make? Before I could respond, a brilliant flash of light illuminated the night, blinding us both. As I squinted against the brightness, the weight of the world pressed down, and in that instant, I felt the veil between my past and this dark new reality tear apart. The shadows whispered my name, an invitation, a promise, a challenge. And I knew, even as fear tightened its grip, I was standing at the very precipice of my fate. The light receded as swiftly as it had come, leaving the night cloaked in a tense silence that echoed like a heartbeat in my ears. I blinked through the afterimages of brilliance, trying to reorient myself. Chris stood beside me, his expression a mixture of confusion and concern. I could feel the energy in the air shifting, almost electric, as if the world held its breath, waiting for my next move. Did you see that? He whispered, incredulous. The shadows around us shivered in response, leaping forward as if eager to devour the moment. I don't know, I stammered, unsure what to feel. The previous rush of panic had dulled, replaced by an unsettling calm. The darkness didn't feel entirely hostile, it felt like an old friend, one that resonated tuggingly with the emptiness on my heart's surface. Let's keep moving, Chris urged, sensing my hesitation. We can't let them get us. But the urgency in his voice was underscored by a frantic edge, as if he sensed the impending change, the storm brewing both outside and within me. As we ducked into a narrow side street, I craved the safety of the cafe, the laughter and warmth it once held. But it was gone, replaced with uncertainty and shadows that danced just beyond our vision. I turned to Chris as we pressed against another wall, both of us gasping for breath. Do you think they'll stay away? I asked, my voice trembling. Those who call themselves your enemies. His eyes searched mine, intense and fierce. They'll never stop until they get what they want. You need to believe that whatever is happening isn't just about you. He took a deep breath, almost as if he was gathering strength. We'll figure it out together. But a dark part of me couldn't silence the whispers. They taunted me with truths I wasn't ready to confront. What if I was meant to be more than a pawn in someone else's game? What if this power, this threat looming in the darkness, was inherent within me? Chris, what if? A loud crash interrupted me, shattering the night and exploding chaos into the silence. I turned instinctively towards the source, heart racing anew. A silhouette appeared in the shadows, sharp and commanding. The figure emerged, holding a radiance that pulsed with dark light, crackling and buzzing like a storm. "Queen!" the figure called out, a mocking tone dripping from her words. "You can deny it, but your fate is intertwined with the underworld." Her grin widened sinisterly. "You're more powerful than you know, and it's time to acknowledge it. Leave her alone." Chris shouted, standing defiantly in front of me, urgency and protectiveness in his posture. But I saw something in his eyes, fear, yes, but deeper than that was a flicker of hesitation. Did he understand what all this meant? "It's not that simple," I replied, surprising myself with the conviction in my voice. Chris looked startled, a mix of concern and admiration flickering in his eyes. The figure, however, merely cackled, the sound coursing through me like ice. "All good little queens think they have a choice," she said, stepping closer, shadow enveloping her as if she were feeding off the darkness. "But believe me, my dear, every choice you did not choose was made long before you took your first breath." My ground felt uncertain beneath me, and dread clawed its way back into my heart. The shadows swirling around us began taking form, twisting into creatures with eyes like smoldering coals. They emanated a promise of power intertwined with destruction. "Just come with us, and you will understand what it means to be crowned," the figure continued, and I realized her eyes were now locked on me, glowing like embers as she reached out a hand, beckoning me into her fold. "Don't listen to her!" Chris shouted, grabbing my arm, pulling me back. "This isn't who you are." But the struggle lingered in every word. He didn't understand this allure, the siren call of acceptance, the undeniable tug of belonging. The darkness around me whispered sweet nothings, painting a picture of fury and rain, freedom and power that no one had ever understood. That I felt pressed between what I knew to be right and the thrill of the unknown, the craving for identity that surged through my veins, the intoxicating vision of a future wrapped in shadows. Even as I fought against it, the darkness was alive, breathing with a will of its own. "Do you want to remain lost forever?" the figure pressed. "Embrace who you are destined to be. Embrace your crown." And for a slithering moment, I felt tempted, the idea coiling around my heart like a long-lost embrace. But it was more than fear that held me back. It was Chris. The warmth of his hand, that fierce loyalty. The love that lived in the space where the darkness could not encroach. "I won't let you take her," Chris declared. And in that heartbeat crisis, a strange understanding dawned on me. As the shadows circled, their whispers grew more frenzied, but all I could see was Chris fighting for me, and in the blink of an eye, I realized the true betrayal wasn't just from Emma. It was the fear of letting go of what I had always known in the face of what my heart craved, an acceptance that might rip apart this fragile connection I had with Chris. Before I could act, the dark figure lunged at us, movement fluid and predatory. In a split second, the world erupted around me as screams echoed and shadows leapt forward. "Chris!" I screamed, but the chaos overwhelmed everything as I barely braced myself for impact. Then in an instance of blinding light, I felt a new pull, a splintering of reality as I was torn from everything I knew, the world around me collapsing into a cacophony of fear and uncertainty. I found myself standing alone, the figure gone, the shadows fleeting and disoriented. But amidst the disarray, I could feel that alien power awakening within me, suddenly aware that the line between light and dark was fraying. I could not run anymore, a choice was upon me, one that demanded the courage I had yet to muster. Where was Chris? I searched frantically, heart pounding as the silhouettes of impending choices twisted in a dance of fate. A whisper echoed around me, richer and clearer than before. Your time is near, Queen. And just as I began to grasp the implications of my new reality, I felt a deep chill settle in my bones, a lurid possibility that maybe, just maybe, I had only begun to scratch the surface of what awaited me in the darkness. With dread flooding my senses, I turned in search of answers, but what I found instead was the unsettling realization that I'd have to confront not just the shadows, but the very core of who I would become. The air felt heavier, almost suffocating, as I stood alone in the wake of the chaos. I blinked away the lingering vision of Chris, his fierce determination etched into my mind as I stumbled through the shifting shadows. Time had twisted, contorted, pulling me into a realm devoid of familiar comfort. Panic swept through me like wildfire. I had lost Chris, the one anchor against the encroaching darkness. The whispering shadows danced around me as I tried to regain my footing. They felt sentient, as if they could sense my fear and trepidation. I faltered, caught in the wavering light that fought against the consuming darkness. Chris! I screamed, but my voice dissolved into the void, swallowed by an unyielding silence. Suddenly, from behind a dense wall of shadows, a figure emerged, this one more solid and real than the laughing specter that had taunted me moments before. A woman, ethereal and fierce, stepped forward. Her deep-set eyes glistened with a knowing sorrow. You, my dear, have awakened something ancient, she said softly, her voice a melodic balm against the chaos. You must navigate these depths. The choices you make now will carve the path for your destiny. Where is Chris? I demanded, hot tears stinging my eyes as fear clawed at my throat. I need him, the woman's gaze softened, but the shadows around her pulsated menacingly. He cannot follow you where you are bound. This realm is yours to traverse. He remains in the world above, his heart entwined with yours, but the connection frays with every passing moment. Why would they take me? I whispered, despair tightening its grip. I don't want this. I can't face whatever this power means. It terrifies me, and I want Chris back. No one wants you to embrace this power more than you might think. She stepped closer, her presence imbued with warmth that contrasted sharply with the cold tendrils around me. You must understand, each thread of your identity, each choice you make feeds this power. It desires your acknowledgement. There is hope hidden within kindness that can blossom from understanding your truth. Truth? I echoed, the word tasting foreign on my tongue. What is my truth? I only feel lost. The woman studied me, her features reflecting a cast of longing. You are more than what you perceive. Within you lies not just power, but potential to forge connection beyond the void. Let go of the fear that haunts your heart. How can I cried out, helplessness surging through me. All I see is darkness, a choice that could break everything I hold dear. Then let it, she said resolutely, and for the briefest moment, her voice resonated with strength. Embrace it, and let it guide you rather than trap you. Your choices define you, not your fears. Explore the empathy you hold beneath your pain. A flicker of courage sparked within me, momentarily extinguishing the fear. Chris' face flashed in my mind, and I felt the tether of our bond reach into the abyss. Even in the darkest moments, he had seen the light in me. Shivers ran down my spine as I imagined the weight of losing that connection. What if I can't walk the path? What if the shadows consume me? The woman extended her hand, her palm open, inviting me to reach out. You must choose to believe in the goodness within you, even when the shadows linger. I will guide you. Take my hand, and let's break this cycle together." For one heart-stopping moment, the choice unfolded before me like a delicate bloom, promising connection, hope, and warmth amidst the frost of fear. I reached for her, our fingers barely brushing the air, when the ground beneath me quaked violently, throwing us apart. A deafening roar erupted, drowning out all reason as a violent surge of shadows crashed down, engulfing me in a tempest of despair. I could feel the piercing cold slide into my bones, stealing the hope I had just begun to clutch. "No!" I screamed, reaching out in desperation, the world shifting once again, the shadows laughing. Cold dread rippled through me as I realized I was no longer in control. The power inside threatened to overwhelm me, rising in intensity. Then, just like that, the darkness recoiled around me, forming into a tight cocoon before bursting free into a blinding white light. As it faded, I found myself collapsed in a different part of the shadow realm, surrounded by velvety darkness that curled against my skin. My heart raced as I pushed myself up, an unsettling pressure binding my chest. It was then I felt Ida's presence nearby, lurking, watching, waiting. And then I heard Ida's voice breaking through the silence, familiar and unnerving. "You've made the first choice, Queen. You will learn what it means to embrace the darkness, be ready. I will return for you." The shadows shifted, morphing into twisted shapes that seemed to haunt my every breath, yet in the depths of my heart, I could still feel Chris's warmth, that precious bond alive against the encroaching dark. And as I willed myself to face this new reality, wrapping my arms around the fear and uncertainty, I understood with a sickening dread that whatever I faced in the depths of the underworld, it would not just shape my destiny. It would unravel the very fabric of my being. I could not falter, I must find a way back to Chris. But as the shadow moved closer, I didn't realize how profound my next choice would be, another thread in the tapestry of my existence entwined with darkness. The darkness loomed around me, wrapping tighter with every pulse of uncertainty. My heart pounded, a relentless drumbeat against the silence of the void. I turned in every direction, searching for the formidable presence that had just spoken to me, but the shadows offered no comfort. Instead, they flickered and twisted, as if delighted by my fear, but the echoes of Chris' laughter lingered in my ears, grounding me in a moment that felt perpetually out of reach. "Queen," the voice whispered again, the term dripping with a mix of reverence and condescension. "You were chosen for this path long before you knew of it. You possess a power that can break the chains of despair, but it requires sacrifice." "No!" I shouted into the encroaching darkness, anger igniting in the pit of my stomach. "I didn't ask for this. I just want Chris back." The shadows pulsed in response to my words, almost as if feeding off the intensity of my emotions. "Then find him," the voice encouraged, a calculated sweetness threading through the menace. "But first, you must confront the truth of your own heart, the fears that bind you. To free your beloved, you will have to delve deeper into the shadows of your own making." Panic clutched me anew. How could I unearth fears that felt like a deep-set infection in my soul? Betrayal reared its ugly head, thoughts racing to the moments when I had doubted Chris, when my insecurities had momentarily overshadowed our love. Desperation pushed me forward, each step testing the fragile tether of strength I had. I moved deeper into the darkness, and the coldness seeped into the marrow of my bones. Images flitted past, moments from my life blending with shadows, laughter punctuated with kindness, entwined with hurtful accusations whispered when I felt lesser next to Chris' unwavering confidence. Then I saw a warm, flickering light in the distance. I was drawn to it, heart pounding with hope. As I drew nearer, the light coalesced into a figure that sent a quiver of recognition through me. It was the woman from before, but she appeared different, more radiant, enveloped in an ethereal shimmer that shone amidst the desolation. "Choose wisely, dear one," she said, her voice sweeter than honey. "What do you seek, love or power, Chris?" I answered instinctively. "I want to save him." "That's a noble desire," she replied, her expression softening, but a shadow passed over her face. "Yet love comes with its burdens. Do you truly know the cost?" "Whatever it is, I'm willing," I declared, my voice trembling yet resolute. "I can't live without him." "Then you must recognize that love alone cannot free him. You must grapple with your own fears, with your own anger, begin to unravel the betrayals within." Her words echoed warnings that rang true. What I could not bear, I had thrust upon him. "I've done so much wrong," I choked out, clenching my fists. "Then make amends, not only with him but with yourself," she urged. "Acknowledge your truths. Accept the pain and seek forgiveness." In that moment, clarity descended like a gentle cascade. If I wanted to find Chris, I had to confront the shame that lingered like a ghost. With resolve, I stepped forward, but the shadows slithered closer, coiling around me like snakes, whispering doubts that echoed my darkest fears, that I was unworthy, that I would fail, that I had already lost him. "Face it!" I shouted defiantly, forcing myself to dig into the cavern of hurt. "Face it all!" A sharp pang gripped me as memories flooded in, doubts I projected onto Chris, fears of inadequacy that surfaced during our fights, the moments I allowed insecurity to overshadow our love. Each realization bore an unbearable weight, almost suffocating. I collapsed to my knees, my breath hitching as pain twisted into understanding. But just then, the shadows tightened, eager to crush my spirit, feeding on my unraveling. "You'll never find him," they hissed, "your love is weak, your truth a burden." No. I screamed at the encroaching darkness, determination coursing through me. "My love is not weak, it is my strength. I will fight for him." Suddenly, a blinding flash of light erupted from somewhere deep within me, illuminating the grim shadows surrounding me. The woman stood firm beside me, her eyes glimmering with pride. "Yes. Embrace it. That is your truth, the fierce love that refuses to succumb to despair." The shadows writhed in chaos, retreating as my light surged. I felt emboldened as the fear tempered to resolve. I was not just a prisoner of my choices, but a pioneer of my own destiny. With each stroke of enlightenment, the darkness receded, allowing the woman's shimmer to radiate throughout the void. But just as a renewed vision of the world beyond this malevolent realm beckoned, I heard that ominous voice again, yet this time it was sharper, weightier. "You may be strong, but do you know what it means to lose, dear queen? I will test your resilience." And in that moment, the ground trembled violently beneath my feet. Something dark and sinister was descending upon me. The shadows congealed into a monstrous form, twisted and grotesque, and began to lunge. But as fear battled with hope within me, I felt the warmth of Chris echoing through the void, a tether urging me onward. This was not the end, the shadows roared, and as they did, the face of betrayal blossomed within the darkness, pulling at my heart. A chilling truth surged forward, cold and unforgiving. What if I had already lost the most important part of myself in trying to grasp a power I still didn't understand? I steeled myself. I would not falter in facing this revelation. But as the shape loomed larger, I realized with sickening dread that the greatest battle lay ahead, one that would forever alter the ties between Chris, my love, and me. The air thickened with anticipation, each heartbeat a portentous drum echoing through the abyss. Shadows writhed, forming grotesque silhouettes that mocked and jeered at my resolve. The monstrous figure loomed before me, a manifestation of every doubt, every fear that had whispered insidiously into my ear. Anger pulsed within me, igniting the remnants of my courage, but doubt clawed at my resolve, intertwining itself like a vine around my heart. "Face your truth, Queen," the voice taunted, its inflection now layered with a sinister amusement. "He is lost, perhaps forever, and what will become of you when that reality crushes the last fragments of your hope? Will you still cling to your love for a ghost?" I staggered back, briefly losing the strength of my light as despair slipped its icy fingers around my heart. No, I refused to believe that.